It's the 80s where people did a ton of cocaine, and Danny Glover said, I'm getting too old for this shit, but they did 3 more of these, and Mel Gibson was acting crazy. And then years later, we found out he really hates Jewish people. It's a retro view of Lethal Weapon, which was directed by Richard Donner, who directed Lethal Weapon 2, Lethal Weapon 3, Lethal Weapon 4, where everybody got on the floor and watched these dinosaurs still try to do this shit when they were too old for this shit. Lethal Weapon 4 came out in 1998, and oh boy, was that franchise aged by then. But yes, Richard Donner, that name sounds familiar. He did a bunch of other movies like Superman, Superman 2, The Goonies. He did Scrooged. He did Ladyhawk with that weird guitar, electric guitar music and all that stuff. It didn't seem like it fits, but now I can't hear the movie with any other type of music. He did The Toy. He did Maverick, and his first feature film was Salt and Pepper because back in 1968 he decided to push it real good. And also I would like to once again state that despite the fact some people think that Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie, it is. Check out my review of that. And Lethal Weapon took place around Christmas, so Merry Christmas. It's a fucking Christmas movie. Deal with it, people. You can sound off in the comments, but I think it's a Christmas movie. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this movie in the comments, please. But yes, Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, Gary Busey, and all that face. He's all about that face. About that face. My goodness, that guy's really fucking scary. We get Mitchell Ryan as the general, and man, he loves when a plan comes together. I'm sorry, he wasn't that, but he might as well have been. He just wasn't smoking enough cigars. And Tom Atkins. Tom Atkins always seemed like he was about 80 years old in any movie. I kid. He didn't look a day over 78. That's unfair. So yes, Lethal Weapon. Okay, it's not the greatest action movie, but it did spawn a few sequels that were of varying quality, and really, the chemistry between Mel Gibson and Danny Glover was fucking tremendous. And sure, it's not a perfect movie, like, at all. In fact, there are quite a few moments where I'm like, wow, you know, this is really dated. I mean, Die Hard's pretty dated as far as the 80s fashion, stuff like that. And, you know, the special effects, because there was only so much technology back in the day, even with a director like John McTiernan. But this really just is very much a product of its time. I mean, that old school Pepsi logo that they have, all that 80s hair, the synth sax music. I can't tell you how many times I had to say that in my head to even try to get that correct. And this basically just involves Martin Riggs, played by Mel Gibson, you know, a renegade cop who doesn't play by the rules, and he's unhinged, and he's almost on the verge of a psychotic breakdown, mostly because he lost his wife, and also because while Mel Gibson really didn't have to act crazy. If you know, you know. And it's really hard to rewatch a Mel Gibson movie and not think about all of that leaked audio where he just really proved that he's kind of a bigot and kind of a goddamn idiot. I'm not saying he's the only one in Hollywood, but holy fucking shit, Mel really just proved what a piece of shit he was. But at least he got to act crazy in this, and Danny Glover was pretty damn terrific as well. So there's this opening scene where this girl is on copious amounts of drugs because why wouldn't you be on heroin, cocaine, and all that kind of stuff? And why wouldn't you just take a tumble onto a car roof because you have no idea what the hell you're doing and where the hell you're at because you're high. You're high as fuck. So it turns out that this girl is actually the daughter of Tom Atkins' character, Michael. And this, reveals a, big old mystery and a big old, seedy underbelly of drug smuggling, heroin smuggling, shipments, as Gary Busey's character says. And he was the most Gary Busey here, like, it was just insane. I mean, he was Gary Buseying up like crazy all the time. He was hulking up and acting all crazy. It's Maximum Busey, like the Bell thing and all that stuff, that meme from that commercial. But anyway, this movie is a lot of fun, despite any of the flaws it has. And it does have a breezy pace to it. It does deal with some dark subjects and dark subject matter, like, Riggs' character feeling very suicidal because of the loss of his wife and everything. And when you feel that kind of loss, sometimes you can't deal with it. And also being a cop and everything, being as tough as that is, even in the 80s when you're on copious amounts of drugs and you were able to test drugs and basically get away with it because it was the 80s and you could honestly do just about anything. Read up about the 80s. Seriously, I mean, I was only a kid in the 80s. There was a lot of shit going on that was just insane. And we get some insight on Roger Murtaugh, Danny Glover's character, where he's got a wife and he's got children and everything. And his wife's cooking gets joked about, and she accidentally drops an egg at one point. And she's like, "Watch out! Oh, silly me! I should have checked the floor for egg." Why that line made me laugh, I don't know. But basically, the jumper turned out to be, the daughter of Tom Atkins' character. They find out more about this. She was actually poisoned, and Riggs does this, is trying to, bring down these drug dealers, these small-time drug dealers with this cocaine in broad daylight, by the way, in a tree farm, because, it's taking place during Christmas. Again, Christmas movie. So why the hell wouldn't you just do a drug deal right around a goddamn tree farm? I mean, what the hell? And you want to see crazy? He does the Three Stooges slap and all that stuff and everything, and he shoots one guy that's, hiding in the trees and everything that's part of the group. He's going to make sure that this deal goes down. There's a lot of gun violence and ridiculousness and just craziness and slow-mo stuff, people getting shot, but not to the point where it's ridiculous. This isn't Richard Donner's best movie, but it's definitely up there, in comparison. And two was actually pretty good. 3 is where things started to go, and then 4, even though it was just a few years later, really felt like very much a relic of the 80s. So these other cops arrive and everything, and he's like, to this guy, like he's just acting all, and he's, "Oh, you want to do it, ha 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 ha, I'm going to do it." And, again, acting crazy. So then, there's one, the police psychiatrist basically says, Riggs is unhinged and everything. And then, Murtaugh finds out, that Riggs is going to be his partner. And he says he heard about all his skills and everything. "I suppose we should register you rather as a lethal weapon." Aha, we have a title, only about 20 to 30 minutes in. And Gary Busey, he shows his toughness by having his boss, the general, just burn his arm with a goddamn lighter and everything. While this guy, Mr. Mendez, not of the Menendez brother fame, because no parents were harmed in the making of this movie, maybe, possibly, I don't really know, and I'm not going to try to find out, because I don't know, and nobody else knows. Let's just not get anybody involved with that. So anyway, he sees all this stuff. He sees, this bad 80s rock, like tribute stuff, even though it's in the 80s, so I don't know how it could be tribute rock. And the bad music would have driven me nuts, but seeing Gary Busey just lit with a lighter, and it's like, ah ha 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 ha. And, yeah, basically heroin is the main theme of this and everything, and they get shipments, and they're getting all this stuff, and, man, what could be more Christmas than stopping heroin shipments? Hooray! So, Michael basically asks Murtaugh, "Hey, kill them all. And then we get more info brought out. At one point, Murtaugh and Riggs are, walking like in some LA square or whatever it is, and you see just the theater in the background. Either the Lost Boys paid handsomely for the advertisement, or they just left it in there. But the Lost Boys in theaters. I mean, already the movie was a product of its time anyway. That just dates it even more because that came out in 1987. And there's this guy that's about to jump or whatever, even though his hair could have been used as a goddamn, parachute. He could have literally flapped out his goddamn hair like a freaking flying squirrel's wings and been totally fine. But Riggs stops him by handcuffing him and then jumping with him. My only issue with this is, it was very much the same with True Lies. You remember in the beginning of True Lies when they were rolling down the snowy hill and it was supposed to be Schwarzenegger and they didn't shoot it right and it was very obviously a stuntman? This was the same thing. Now, yes, obviously you don't want your big name actors hurt. You want your stuntmen to take the proper bumps properly because that's the stuff they do. That's what they get paid for. That's what they get paid the big bucks for. Hopefully the big bucks because they're dangerous stunts. But you could totally tell it wasn't him. And the handcuffs were separated. Like the handcuffs just, like look at some of the shots. Handcuffs were totally separated. Now, granted, you wouldn't want that shit to actually happen, but you could have cut away. You could have done a better job. Editing it is what it is. And then Murtaugh's talking to him. He's like, "Do you really want to die? You don't think I think about doing it a whole bunch and everything?" And then, "Oh, you're not trying to get a psycho pension. You really are crazy." He's like, "I'm hungry. I'm going to go get something to eat." And then we get more banter and everything. And it was Murtaugh's birthday the previous day. So he's like, "Well, happy birthday for yesterday. If we live long enough, I'll get you a gift." And then that old school Alka-Seltzer ad, my fucking goodness. He comes to dinner. Roger's oldest daughter, Rhiannon, basically likes Riggs a lot. Oh, if you only knew. And then other stuff. They're discussing the case. They won't. Roger won't let his daughter go out because she, smoked pot in the house, but yet she can do some, yet she can do, she can drink beer. Well, beer is legal, pot isn't. And more banter and stuff like that. We just get more of like what the hell is going on between all the all these people as more details come out. The Riggs, basically was just acting all crazy all this time. Glover, during the one scene where they're doing the shooting range thing, Glover doesn't blink, but Gibson does. When you're doing the shot, that proves they didn't practice enough. And then, Glover's only got like the 6-shooter. Well, he shoots one shot directly, through the skull. Okay, great. And then, Gibson says, oh, okay, boom, boom, boom. He does a smiley face. Have a nice day. And then they're going to go visit this, the house of this hooker that earlier in the film had said that she discovered the body. Well, maybe she was somebody in on it. These kids are like, her name is Dixie. You're going to rest, Dixie. And then suddenly they get within a few feet and the house blows up. Dixie, Dynamite House. It's like the Clash of Champions. It was in 89, I believe. And Riggs finds out there's this, really expert, explosive stuff. And the kid saw the guy point out the tattoo and he says, are you sure? Because Riggs was in the Vietnam War. The Special Forces tattoo, so it turns out that's a very select group. And then Roger grills Michael, after seeing some tape of Amanda in the, adult type movies that she was involved in. He wanted to find out more about this, like what do they know or whatever. He's like, well, I got another daughter to protect. Well, you're not going to be able to protect her unless you tell me. It turns out that they ran a shadow company operation in Vietnam. Well, they did, in other countries too, but it was during the war. They reformed after burning down operation like a couple years before this, and they were bringing in heroin shipments. Why? Because he had the perfect front, being, a guy to give him tax breaks because he ran a bank. And then helicopter comes in because Gary Busey used the power of his face to run that thing without fuel. And then they shot up everybody, and, Riggs tried to get him. That didn't work. They end up shooting Riggs, even though he wore a bulletproof vest. They think I'm dead. Well, they don't think he was dead for very long because they find out. There's like 40 minutes left of the movie at this point. They end up getting to Murtaugh's house. They take Rianne, and they got to basically make a trade. He's got to get the information and basically be captured. They'll let the daughter go. Har har. That's never how it works. Are you really crazy or just as good as you think you are? Because, Riggs has a plan. He loves it when a plan comes... Oh, wait, different guy. So they're in the desert, and even though Riggs is there with a high-powered rifle and, sniper rifle and takes out some people, he gets captured by the general. Even though that guy has such a huge face, I don't know how the hell he was able to sneak up on Gibson, but it is what it is. Maybe Gibson was thinking about punching out Jewish people, because, again, Gibson hates Jewish people. So, take him. Oh, no, he has a grenade. No, you can't do that. So, yeah, this big old shootout. Everybody gets captured. Riggs gets some Chinese water torture and all that. But then, well, actually, he just gets shocked and water tortured and stuff like that. But he then eventually, after Gary Busey's like, well, this is well in hand. I'll leave this guy. Oh, this guy got killed. And then Riggs and his daughter got rescued. And then let's do what the shepherd suggests, what the shepherd said to his flock. What? Let's get the flock out of here. Totally butchered that joke. And man, it's the 80s rock that really made them go absolutely nuts. So we're 20 minutes to the end of the movie. They're in this club scene and they're shooting people out. Gary Busey steals somebody's car. Rexat steals another car while Riggs runs out on foot. Murtaugh somehow manages to stumble down the correct alley to find the general, shoots the driver out. You'll shoot the driver out, and the general ends up trying to grab the wheel, and he spun the wheel, could not make a deal, crashed into the bus, and then blew up because there were grenades and cocaine in the car, as one had in their car. Everybody had that in their car in the 80s. And he's not able to get Joshua, Gary Busey's character. But then they finally meet at Murtaugh's house, where they had sent the family away, and then they drive through the window. How much is that cop car through the window? Oh, that's a big home insurance scam. And then Riggs and Joshua fight. He chokes him out and everything with an arm triangle. It was actually a pretty good move. And then he has the cops, arrest him. The remaining cops, there's like 50 cops around there. They try to arrest him. He grabs one of the cops' guns, and then boom, 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 they shoot him, so he's dead. And earlier in the movie, Riggs had talked about how, he was going to end his life with a hollowed out bullet just to, do the job right. So he hands the daughter the bullet and says, "Oh, your dad will understand. I don't need it anymore." And then he's being invited to Christmas dinner, and he says, "Can I bring a friend?" "Sure." And he has a Lassie type dog, and yay, 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 but unfortunately they have a big cat. So we get some fighting and mischief and everything, and that we just hear it, and that's it. Merry Christmas for everybody. Yes, the heroin shipments are stopped. We had no drug problems after this. But anyway, the movie was quite a bit of fun, even though it was quite dated and quite ridiculous. But it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rethlin. I'll see you soon.